の剣。
剣に手を出したわ。エンビジュー一族族長のゴモラだ。殺されたくないな。我々を納得させる力を見せることだ。
Hello people and welcome back to News Review. This video is going to be a super condensed one again. Since there is a ton of information, I've tried my best to summarize all of it and omit stuff that isn't important. And if I'm going too fast, you can always slow down or pause the video. If you are a new or returning player, I do recommend you check out my new player guide. It'll help you better understand what I'm saying in the video. As always, open up the patch notes, link in the description if you want to follow along. Additionally, I'm trying a new thing where I buy a guild stage for every 10 subscribers I hit, which will give you a diamond if it's your first time clearing it. Thank you so much for 460 subscribers. The next milestone will be at 470 subscribers, so subscribe and also join the guild, as well as Discord, both codes in the description if you want to participate and be notified of that. Starting off with the team skills of the new series, the dragons and beasts have separate team skills, which makes my job harder. Basically, the dragons have a attack boosting team skill based off a sword sharpness stat. This can be increased by dissolving heart runestones of the character's attribute, and dragon runestones, and this maxes out at 100 and exists for every individual card. Based on the value of the stat, it grants different effects shown on the screen. It's just more and more attack the more you accumulate it. The beasts have a defense-based team skill, which allows recovery, CD cycling, and super damage reduction when certain conditions are met, also shown on the screen. This is not for individual members, it just triggers when there is a Gladio, not a Gladiospina, I'm already messing up the names, when a Phantocauda member is in the team. I will try and not say either of these words because they are not real words and I will mix them up. Okay, with that out of the way, we have the main jackpot, the Light Dragon Sodom. As a leader, her shield breaking is decent and survivability is also decent. Obviously, people have compared damage already, and you can't get above Hell's Paradise because that series broke game balance in a bad way. That aside, she does have some flaws, being that she is very reliant on race runestones, and the only way to consistently generate them in her team is with triggering character runestones, which sometimes you can't do due to enemy shields. Also, that last point about ignoring cross-shaped shields is not as much of a joke as it initially reads, since it is useful for multi-cross shields because you can dissolve one group in a cross and it'll just ignore the whole thing, but it does mean that it is essentially useless for single cross shields since you will have to dissolve more than you need for one cross. When I initially saw these descriptions, I actually just recalled in real life due to how many words are on here. I just wanted to share that with you. There are 2 pages of this, by the way. Returning to my condensed version, to not, look at that. As a member, she's decent, but there aren't that many things that are unique about the active. She is the first dragon card to ignore step damage, but everything else that she ignores, such as scorching areas, initial, and puzzle, has already been done. But, it does combine it all into one card, so that is something that is unique. For its second active, it is single use upon reaching max sword sharpness. I repeat, this is single use. This makes the active way worse in my opinion. This is a trend for quite a few cards in the series. I think that the rest of the dragon cards have this. This skill is unique because it ignores runestone number shield, but that is the only thing that is new about it. I'm not really sure it's why this is single use, since I don't even think it would be that broken if they made this a normal CD6. You can use whenever. You could even reduce the sword sharpness by some amount upon activating. I don't know why they had to make this single use upon, reaching 100, which I think, it'll probably turn out being like, it says CD3, but you're not activating it 3 rounds unless you're like dissolving a lot of stuff, and this doesn't. I don't think this team I mean, you could force light runestones by way of team skill, but naturally it does not generate a large amount of like light runestones or anything like that. As it stands, it's very gimmicky. Finally, her bond skills increase combos even more, which aren't tied to a specific condition or huge attack boost, which is kind of confusing design. There's also one that reduces CD, which is pretty standard nowadays. For my overall impression of the card so far, as a leader, it has to beat out Azathoth or the Black Gold Novelist and Ursula to become a meta leader, and I think it really hasn't done that. A large part of leaders nowadays is convenience, and while that can be traded off for a massive amount of power, and also vice versa, this card has neither great convenience nor great power, which leaves it in an awkward position, especially if you already have a dragon leader. As a member, it's also not really that unique. The only thing that could come in handy is the single use skill, because it ignores a runestone number shield. Next is the subjackpot, the Dark Beast Gamora. As a leader, his shield breaking is very similar to Sodom, in terms of just the shield she can break, some of which are locked behind dissolving few types in the first batch, but are largely the same. The playstyle of always dissolving a few types reminds me of the Black Gold Himiko, which is not a good thing, although you do have a way to force out the effects by way of an active. Another potential flaw is a hard drop rate of 0, meaning that some stages will just be impossible or a major headache, as well as being required to choose 2 types of runestones to turn the board into after every round, possibly being detrimental. I believe you just have to choose this, unless like you like restart the game, which I don't think is intended, even if you can do that. But that basically means you destroy the board, or you are forced to alter the board, let's just say, after every round. As a member, a fixed board that you can choose yourself is not bad, but unfortunately for this card, there have been 2 recent powerful beasts, which are, you know, the Black Gold Nero and Cat God. They can do fixed boards as well, with Nero working off EP and Cat God being infinitely reactivating in a Battle Cats team, which gives this card stiff competition. The unique thing about this active is that it removes enclosed areas when the leader is a beast or a dragon, being the 3rd ever card to do so, so I guess it has that going for it. Moving on to the Sprawl prizes, we have Graham the Fire Dragon with possibly the most poorly worded active of all time. So much so that I don't even know how to write it better. By the way, the reason why his art isn't all there on the left hand side is because there's too much text in the way of all his descriptions, and it covers more than half the image. The short version of his skill, if I may say it verbally, which I think is way better, is that he does a 30 runestone conversion trail with the result of the conversion being different depending on the starting runestone. If you start with a character runestone of a dragon, you get enchanted dragon runestones of that attribute. If you start with a non-dragon character runestone, you'll get race runestones of that race and attribute. And if you start with a non-character runestone, you get hard runestones. And yes, that is what this entire overly complicated thing says. For this card's single use skill, this is a dragon after all, it's just really bad. The only real use of this card is to CD and EP cycle, which is pretty counterintuitive since it is single use, and if you want to cycle, you ideally want it to activate multiple times. And once again, I don't think it would be that OP to make it just a normal CD6 skill. That goes for all the single use, honestly. I don't know why they have to make a single use. There's a card that already does this for Montana. And I really don't think it would be super overpowered. Next up, there is Tearfing, the Water Dragon, also a small prize, with an active that is thankfully much simpler. He converts the board into 2 halves, the left half following the leader's column, the right half following the allies column, and also ignores combo seal and runestone combo nullifying, the first ever dragon to do so. For this card's single use skill, it's again really bad. I don't even know if there's anything of note in this one. I believe removing Tornado is somewhat unique, but also Lelenia, if I remember the name correctly, already does this, also a water dragon. There's literally nothing to talk about apart from that. It's quite bad. Even if this was a CD6 skill, I don't think it would save the skill. I mean, this card's active 1 is not terrible, so I guess it has that. Moving on again, we have Adma, the Earth Beast, with a 1 choose 2 skill. Why did I write that? It's a 1 out of 2 skill, which I like to call 2 choose 1. Great script writing by me. I formatted this in what I think is a better way than what Manhead did, avoiding a lot of repetition. This is the second ever card to generate protected runestones, with other aspects of its active being very similar to Fei Yin, a light beast card available in the Golden Asteria seal right now. So, I mean that goes to show like how unique this card is. Not that it's bad, but it's just been done before, right? For the last small prize, we have the Light Beast Zor, who is the first ever Light Beast and the 4th ever Beast to give super damage reduction, and the 2nd ever Beast to give 0 recovery. An interesting point is that Dagda, being the Swiss Army knife way ahead of his time that he is, does possess both abilities, although not at the same time. Converting the board randomly isn't even that bad, so I think that this card is pretty decent for a small prize. The Dragonware for the series is, you know, as average as it gets. It does give 2 seconds of extra spinning time and reduces CD by 2 on stage entry. The third skill being that if you dissolve a group of 5 or more runestones, the character's attack time is 2.5 additionally. But the craft skills are absolute trash, so when using any of these cards as leaders, your craft is not going to be that good if you use the Dragonware. Next, the TOS Fest is apparently an annual thing that is happening. Apparently it's annual, by the way. Not apparently it's happening. It is happening, and it's apparently an annual thing. Which shows how much attention I've been paying. There will be account XP and material grinding stages, as well as extra missions that will give summon coupons and diamonds and a ton of more stuff. You can look at the celebration events if you're interested in reading the whole thing, or just wait for it to arrive in-game. Moving on yet again, there will be a new Calamitous stage accompanying the arrival of 3 new Chronon cards, one of which is 3 stars. The first one with Baal on it is 3 stars and quite powerful, ignoring elemental shields and all dissolve of a single type, which is not dissolving the whole board. It is where you dissolve all runestones of a specified type, as well as cross-shaped shield, arguably being a more powerful version of the Shamash card, with concentrated attack more on one card, because the Shamash card gives a water attack to the whole team, although again not very useful in terms of that card. It's only one card can ignore cross-shaped shield. The second card you can see in the middle is 1 star and ignores initial shield and clears the hypnotized state of the character, which is decent for a 1 star card. The third card is 1 star as well and clears the windswept state of the character and ignores equal combo shield, which is again decent for a 1 star card. During TOS Fest, there's also finally a stage to grind marbles, but you can only get up to 500 marbles, which is a bit of a shame, but hopefully they release these stages more often. Following that, a new feature is going to be introduced, which is a reversing magic item that allows you to reset the first, second, or third seals in Era of Enoch. The wording of this says that you get it by consuming a certain amount of stamina, and I checked the celebration events later, and it is related to missions where you consume stamina. The stages will give diamonds on re-clearance, which is great for diamond farming. And since it lines up so nicely, I'll just take the time to plug my new farming guide video that I uploaded very recently, which will save you a lot of time in the process of recompleting simple story stages. Next up, it is a challenge card, a light demon Napoleon, who is decent due to a low number of demon cards that can restore cracked. He also functions as a speed clearer of sorts, although it's quite bad. It's very, very basic. And next we have the Battle Pass card Dodo, a Dark Beast, who for all intents and purposes is a Dark Beast version of a Cart Titan from Attack on Titan, which makes him an excellent farming card. Once again, if you want to know more about farming, go watch the farming guide. I highly recommend it. I put a lot of time into it, please. Okay, enough shameless self-promotion. Moving on to the last new card, a bi-weekly light elf card, Evander. This card is trash. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Okay, moving on to the rankings. The full price of this seal will be 150 diamonds, aka 30 pulls for the guaranteed jackpot. I can't say I recommend pulling since a lot of the cards in the seal are pretty bad and you're better off saving your diamonds unless you really need a beast or dragon leader at the current moment. If you have either Azathoth or the Black Gold Novelist and Ursula for dragons, you're good in my opinion, and if you have the Battle Cats for beasts, you're also good. For the ranking of the free cards, they're somewhat decent. I think you should farm this Napoleon, despite what I said about his team skill, and also train up the Battle Pass Dodo, but the bi-weekly card is quite bad. Moving on to the celebration events, the returning ultimate cards this time are the Earth Beast Lucius and the Water Demon Carlo, both of which I've never used, so you can beat their stages once and move on. Besides that, all past Chronon card related Calamitous stages are returning alongside the new ones, so please do them if you can. It's basically just a chance to get the 3-star cards that you did not get in the past. However, if you have cleared the stages in the past, they're not going to reset the blank cards. You just have to clear all of them if you haven't cleared them before, but if you have, there's no point. Also, all past collectors deck cards are returning in the shop, available to be purchased with diamonds. These cards are all OC versions of past collab cards. The newer ones cost 24 and the older ones cost 15. I would not recommend you spend your diamonds here if you are low on diamonds or new to the game, with the possible exception of Everlasting Summers for farming purposes once again, but that might just be because I have farming on the brain because of making that video. If you have a ton of diamonds, then go ahead and supplement your inventory with whatever you want. If you have a ton of diamonds, it's, you know, no big deal for you probably, because these are pretty cheap. Lastly, there will be more stages available in the LR Pass permanently, I think, by the way they've worded this. But the stamina discounts for specific stages each week of the TOS Fest is time limited, and this is even more farming. I don't know why Manhead is pushing farming so much. Give me one last chance to plug the farming video. That's it for this week's news view. If you made it to the end, I really appreciate your time, and I would also really appreciate a like, comment, or subscription. It really helps the channel out, and I'll see you next video. See ya.